And welcome back. We're moving into our final segment for today. We're going to be talking about heroes, patriots, and benefactors, a special exhibit, and also talking about history and the importance of it and the work that is being done in that regard. And joining us, we have from the Institute of Social and Cultural Research, we have Rolando Cocom, Senior Research and Education Officer. We have Lynette Sabido, Research Assistant, and a historian and international storyteller. We have Myrna Manzanares. Good morning, and welcome to the show.
Buenos morning.
All right, good. Let's talk a little bit about ISCR and the work that it's doing in terms of capturing and telling, especially from a Belizean perspective, of history as we now know it.
Okay, again, good morning, and good morning, viewers. We're very happy to be here once more. ISCR is engaged in promoting research, promoting our historical experience, promoting our cultural experience. ISCR also has on its agenda several other projects for this year in terms of doing a research competition. We also have the Belize Archaeology and Anthropology Symposium coming up at the end of June, the beginning of July. That happens every year. We are excited also that we have a special panel discussion coming up, Indigenous Representation in Belize and the region, where we're hoping to re-engage ourselves in some maybe theoretical discussions and also empirical work that on the indigenous people in Belize. And then of course we have an exciting initiative that started last year, the Belize History Association organization, which seeks to address a earnest desire that you hear on the media every morning, you know, the need for Belizean history, the need for information to be out there. And the Belize History Association, we have here this morning Ms. Myrna as a senior member of the organization. They were elected last year, and they are in the process of several other projects in terms of finalizing the articles of association to become a legal entity. As chair, we have Mr. Francis Humphreys, vice chair Gian Vasquez. We also have members from the archives, from the library, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other members who were elected. And one of the important things about the BHA is that the number of members who are elected from the population, the wider population, are democratically elected, and they have greater voting rights in terms of directing the organization to the eventual product of a general history of Belize, as in the way that we see the general history of the Caribbean, general history of Africa. So in several volumes we want to produce these histories, because that's the other thing. History is always up to interpretations and perspectives. So one of the tasks that ISCR has is to ensure that we have multiple perspectives on issues. We don't think that necessarily the organization will produce a true history or the history of Belize, but provide the space and opportunity to allow other persons to learn the skills of the discipline and to be able to produce multiple perspectives with their evidence, of course.
Now, it's interesting that you talk about the history and different perspectives, because largely Belizean history has not been told from a Belizean perspective.
Thank you.
So let's start there, and the work that ISCR is doing to actually change that, not only in terms of public perception, but actually retelling some of the stories that we have been reinforcing through social studies or other issues like that.
Well, maybe perhaps also Ms. Myrna can talk about the workshop that we're going to do. I mean, she's very excited. As you can see, she's done quite a number of work on oral history, and she can speak to us about the importance of doing oral history, which is one of the things that the BHA will do this year, hold a workshop and allow to do some more community research. Ms. Myrna, can you share about the importance of the oral history?
Yeah. Okay. For me, when you look at oral history, we have all of the written history, and we don't see where you go to the people that are older in the community and they're able to fit in the pieces. We only see what the writers have done, but when you go to those people, you say, oh my gosh, this fits with this, and so you see a fuller picture. So this year we're doing a workshop where we're going to train individuals to do oral history that are like, when I want to go to you, William, and I sit down with you and I want to find out all about you, and then of course I write it, you know, I write the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know. No, we never write the ugly, we only write the good, right? But no, it is so important, and teachers themselves don't have that ability. They could use their students to do oral history, you see, and we don't do that.
what I think a part of the conversation is that a lot of times people look at the stories that older people tell, not as history, but just as
Stories.
So that's a big part of the conversation.
Exactly.
How do you get people to recognize that not because it's not written down, it isn't a historical perspective of a particular issues. One of the things that we've done a lot on, and you listen to older people talking about Hurricane Hattie, for example,
that's right.
or some of those things, but people tell their personal recollections, but we don't add it to the body of work that deals with those particular issues.
Because it is lost. Yes, we have to listen, but we have to write it down just exactly as they say. We need to record it, and when we record it, we can hear what they say. And when we write it down, it's exactly the way it is recorded. All of those will be in the writing, so that people could know this person is talking. Very, very important. And the History Association, one of their goals is to look at all of those perspectives. We need to look at teachers and the way they teach history. How many teachers really teach history? As a matter of fact, I'm a teacher, but how many teachers know history? Our Belizean history, lots of things have been taken out of our Belizean history. Even the Battle of St. George's Key, I'm not going to go into that, because that's another story that has been taken out of in our archives, the Belizean history, right? So the association really, and Rolanda spoke about finalizing our memorandum of association and all of those things, but we have a number of initiatives that we are doing to bring forth, as you said, Belizean history from Belizeans for Belizeans. It has to be. We say history, all kind of history, and everybody is telling us things, and I get upset. I go to some of these historians and they look at me like, who's she? Because they're not telling what is supposed to be. And I think it's very important. We have activities that are coming up. We have public lectures. Last year we did a public lecture. I don't know if you went on the Battle of St. George's Key, all right? And we have people like Francis Humphreys. You don't know Francis. Francis is an excellent historian. He's one of the best. We have two very good historians in this country, Francis Humphreys and Brenda Armstrong.
Let me jump in here, Brenda, because you touched on something, and I don't want us to go past it too quickly. And it was the Battle of St. George's Key. And yes, we won't get into the issue itself, but the fact that we don't want to talk about it is part of the issue.
That's right.
The history of Belize oftentimes has become victim to the party politics that we see in our country.
True.
And every year, with specifically the Battle of St. George's Key, different recollections come out. Now, I want to talk about the impact of a country 30 plus years later not being able to understand or fully accept what is or isn't a part of our history. Can we touch on that?
Yes. I don't know if you want to say anything, Orlando, but
it's very. How do I put this? Okay. Having done history academically, you have a different perspective of what history is and how it is used by nationalists, by activists. So it can be used for ways in which you want to perhaps articulate a particular ideology of resistance, say. But it could also be used to articulate an ideology of suppression. That you tell people, slaves and the whites fought together. That was a narrative developed by a particular committee in order that they would have a special sort of recognition in the society. So facts, just give you a quick narrative of how history can be interpreted. History is like the fisherman. The fisherman have to decide where part they going to fish the morning. He decided to take out this fish. If you want to put the tin back, bring it to market, and you have to clean it. He not tell you the fish as it is, and of course, as I said, the fisherman never say fish stink. So he not tell you exactly where you're going to get your fish from. You don't know. In many cases, you don't ask. So the moment you pick up a history work, you should ask who wrote it, why, where did he go fishing, So history will always be interpretive. And then to get back to the question, the politics of it will always be there. It will always continue to change. And one of the things that the organization and institute in particular needs to do is to foster this type of environment where we have to ensure a re-examination of the process that has occurred in terms of the different interpretations of the battle. And to me, it will never be settled. And that's my personal perspective. It can never be settled because history is always up to revision. And this year we're working on a 200 set of pages, documents by Arturo O'Neill. He was the general from the Spanish their forces that were coming into the British Honduras at that time. And so we're translating these documents this year. We have several teams from the University of Quintana Roo, the Belize Archives, University of Belize, and we are working on translating these documents to enlarge our perspectives of the battle.
Now, a big part of it, because as a young nation, technically where we went from primarily discussing European history and British history to actually coming to looking at what we consider to be Belizean history, there's this debate that we don't see necessarily with other countries that are established, and people somehow feel as if though it doesn't increase the validity of the history, but it waters it down, and it makes people kind of walk away feeling like, okay, this one they said this one they said that, politics in there, all of that. So we don't honor our history because we don't even know what it is. So when you're talking about the product that is supposed to be our history, if you go back to the Boston Tea Party, it's almost encapsulated and set there in stone. Now you're talking about a thing like the Battle of St. George's Key, and you're talking about we're doing research on this, we're doing that, we're doing that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I think it's
but
excellent,
it's not static to the point where people say that these are the certain truths that we accept about it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I like your analogy that you used. The fisherman may not know the history of the fish, but you know it came from water. It doesn't. We don't know where. We don't know what part of the country. But there's certain foundational truths that can be accepted. My question is, given a history association and the work of the ISCR, and I know there's a lot going on, having this kind of nebulous environment when it comes to what I think are foundational issues in our Belizean history, for the younger generation, we're able to decipher, okay, this is just politics with particular issues. But having younger generations coming up and not being sure of what are the basic fundamental facts of how our country was developed, for me, is a concern. Is that something that you see having an effect as well?
It is definitely a concern, and that's the reason why when we get all of the different information from the different places, we can put that down. For example, like he was talking about the Quintana Roo and all the way from Spain and all that. We have the old Spanish records written in Old Spanish, and that's what we're trying to translate and look at right now. And when we get all of those things with the facts from there, we need to be able to rewrite the books, not only at your level, but low readability, high interest for our students, so that they can read from their little about these basic facts. For example, we had this thing about, the Pocono Boy sticks and all of that. But you know, there are some truth in the Pocono Boy sticks, because the English, or they used to use spears. And so they didn't go and beat up the people with no Pocono Boy sticks. There was a specific instance where they had their Pocono Boy sticks, and they had their dory, and the flat bottom boat, what do you call it? The pit pan. And they had their paddles where they strategically awaited the Spaniards, but they used the sticks as, you know, the Africans and their spears. So there is, the kids we don't even know that. We say that as a big thing. So yes, all of the information is relevant that we have to put down that has happened, but we have to make it appealing to our young generation. So from the time they're little, they're reading about this, and it becomes a part of their psyche.
Just speaking about the young generation, I just want to mention that we have the logo competition open right now, and it's open to persons who are young, a little less, more than young.
Young at heart and young in age.
Not for William.
So it's open to all Belizeans, and we are looking forward to more participation. We have about 10 entries so far, and the application closes on the 27th February at 5 p.m. All applications are submitted electronically to the Belize History Association at gmail.com. Available on the niche website and on the Facebook.
All the guidelines are there.
Yes,
exactly. And the logo is for the History Association.
Yes, so we're looking for creative talent, and particularly, so far we've had a lot of young talents, you know, young persons giving up their time and effort The prizes include a Samsung Galaxy tablet, a wireless headset, wireless printer. There's also a second prize just to congratulate that person with a $12 to $50 cash prize. We're also including some historicals with gifts in terms of giving them a tour of the George Price Center, a tour of the National Heritage Library in Belmopan, and also be featured in our website for the BHA, which will be established by March of this year. And that will serve as a portal as well for the young people, since you mentioned the need for young people to access history.
I think it's important that these young people participate because they're very creative, and we need them to remember that we're looking at the logo in terms of Belizeans, history, the history associations, history by Belizeans, for Belizeans. How do you encapsulize that in a logo so that you could see it?
So when's the deadline for that?
That's February 27th.
February 27th, so that's the end of this month.
Belize History.
Do keep that in mind. Now, I like that I like that you're tying in art and getting people involved on that level. But I want us to move into, of course, what we're here for today, the Heroes, Patriots, and Benefactors exhibit. And it is just absolutely important when we talk about history again and knowing the facts, knowing the players involved as well. So let's talk about what's happening with that.
Good morning. Well, it has become an annual exhibit. Currently we have 18 persons being featured, and this year we're adding 3 persons, so that makes it 21. But we also want to clarify that although the exhibit is Heroes, Patriots, and Benefactors, 2 persons are the national hero, recognized as national heroes, where all the others, we acknowledge them but are not really national heroes, I would say. Again, 2 persons we have as national heroes obviously is Honorable George Cadle Price and Mr. Philip Golson. And going back and bringing us back into this year's personalities that we're going to feature, we have Nurse Vivian Say, Nurse Dorothy Bradley, and Mr. Jesus Ken. I had the opportunity to do the archival research, get my hands into it, and I have to say it was like an amazing opportunity because you not only get to know what's stated there about these persons, but you get to do interviews, and like Ms. Myrna said, it's important with oral history because you get to know the human side of these persons, how they impacted the people they serve their community. For instance, Nurse Dorothy Bradley. We know about her what's on the newspaper when she's honored, but we don't really know what all she did, like her experiences, the hard work she put into, and her dedication to the community, especially the rural communities, because she thought that she knew that there was a special need in rural communities. And I had the opportunity to interview Mr. Sita Almedo from Benque Viejo. And I knew she was acquainted with Nurse Bradley, but I did not know that she worked closely to Nurse Bradley. She was her, let's call her assistant over at when Nurse Bradley was at the Benque Viejo, right? And she took us back through that time, way back. She allowed me to get to know Nurse Bradley. Like in an instance, I kind of figured that I knew Nurse Bradley because she told us that because we know that religion played a great role in Nurse Bradley's her doings and everything she did, right? So she in Benque, we all know that we have El Dia del Carmen, and Nurse Bradley actually would take a day, plan, participate into it. And there was one year when she was doing this, and late at night she got a call from someone in Cala Creek who was delivering, because her specialty was delivering babies. She loved that. She got a call late at night, and I think the weather was horrible, but she still found her way to Cala Creek.
So showing the contribution that they have done, especially in the medical field. Who are some of the other people who will be a part of the exhibit?
We have the ones from previous years. We have Nurse Cleopatra White. We have
work with Vivian.
Gwen Lizarraga, Samuel Haynes, Julian Shaw, Felipe Recalde, Antonio Soberanis. So we have quite a wide number of personalities, and what we're doing is trying to capture those that have already been mentioned in sort of Belizean public discourse, that are noteworthy of this this acknowledgement. And then of course later on we also have all of these other persons that are added early into these, you know, awards of meritorious service, awards of Art of Belize. There's a different set of awards that are legally established. So there are a whole array of persons, and of course the Oral History Project will, what it seeks to do is also try to put the information, biographic information of elders within specific communities who have contributed, so that people within rural communities can know, hey, you know, we had a person way back when who also contributed to our own community, maybe not at the grand scale as some of the others, but they also made a significant contribution.
How do you select who will be added to the exhibit?
Yeah. This year, Vivian C.
Yeah.
So again, part of the process is to look at those that have been acknowledged, but probably there is a lack of information. And so then students need information on Nurse Vivian C, and they don't have quite a nice panel or a nice, in our case, we provide bookmarks and we place these information online. If you would search us, Heroes and Benefactors Belize, and your Google search will put up our niche website that comes out first, and there's a PDF there. So that's the type of work that we want to do. We want to capture those persons that need this acknowledgement and that will be important for the students. And so then this year we decided also, you know, this contribution, we are mindful of having a balance, and there's a need for us to include more women. So that was part of our vetting process and who would go into this year's exhibit. So we want to have women and men, because when you think about heroes and contributors to our society, generally our history has still been his history. And so that's part of the problems that the Institute is aware of and wants to address.
But I'm excited about Vivian C because, you know, I mean, she was with Garveyism and all of the things there, and who knows about UNIA? So that's what I'm.
Yes, it was really good. Like when it comes to Nurse Vivian C, it was really interesting because I was also working on with another project with the UNIA. So you'd see all the links, like how, oh my God, she participated in this. Like she first started in the, well, we know that United Negroes Improvement Association started in the 1990s in the US, right? But then it started to appear here in Belize, well, British Honduras in the 1920s.
18 or 19?
1980s and then 20s in Belize.
Yeah, in Belize. And then back then, you know, when the newspaper started to circulate, the governor kind of stopped it, okay, you know. But then it would still get around by word of mouth. And so British Honduras became influenced by the UNIA. And that's in that same year, 1920s, under the auspices of the UNIA nurse, well, Vivian C, along with Cleopatra White and other nurses, started to form the Black Cross Nurses Association. And even up to today, we're still familiar with the Black Cross Nurses Association. I had the opportunity to actually go to their headquarters, I guess, but Allenby Street. Yeah, and got in contact with the president, and it was really good, like, you know, get them involved in what was their history and get information from them as well, because we might miss something that wasn't out of it.
So you've done all the work to be able to take this information that was probably very scattered and very difficult to find, and make it very much easy access for everyday Belizeans.
I didn't know about the Jesus Ken. Please talk about that.
Oh, Mr. Jesus Ken.
Ms. Myrna is excited.
Well, he's from Corazon, Shaibe, actually, and I got the opportunity to personally interview him as well. And he's such an amazing individual, I have to say. We also did some interviews with other people that worked with him. And as we said, Mr. Jesus Ken over at the National Assembly, where Mr. Ken, because, you know, when he worked with them, they mentioned, like, again, we get to know the human side of them. One of the persons we talked to told us that how he would be like a father figure, you know, whenever they had late meetings, he would make sure, this was back in 93, those years, he would make sure that everyone got home safe. And whenever he'd go to the market, you know, in Belmopan, he'd be like, guys, I'm going to the market, anyone needs anything? And when he would come back, he'd bring back snacks for them. So he was like an amazing individual in that sense. And he comes from a small village, Corazon Shaibe, but he has been all about the place. At just the tender age of 17, he left for Mexico. Yeah, he said it was time. He told his mom it's time to leave home, the nest. And so he went and he worked there for a couple of months, I guess. Then he came back to Belize. and he became a cane cutter, and that's where he first started to make his, at the back in the 1950s, like that's when the sugar industry was beginning to rise. And so he made his first like public appearance, like out in the public in 1957 for the governor's speech, where he held a group of demonstrators fighting again for the small farmers. He was always a voice for the small farmers. And ever since then, in the late 1950s, he formed the Northern Cane Workers Union, and which became registered until 1961. And ever since then, he has been working again for the small people, always wanting the small farmers to become landowners, become independent, self-sufficient, and that lead us to development. But he has worked. In 1961, he became part of the assembly, and he has been working since then. As senator, he has served our government under both PUP and UDP.
And what is his connection with the UNIE? With Sabaranis and that movement?
He said that when he was a young boy, his father used to have a shop right in Shaibe, and he was small, and so people would gather around the shop, because Antonio Sabaranis is coming, and they would all collect money to give him for him to be able to support the cause and be able to be around the country. And this is where it all started for him. Like, he's listening to these people, these issues that are going on. Like, he knows that we need to allocate some attention to this. Like, we need to press on these issues. And like while away in Mexico, he was involved in, he as well was involved in like things that were happening, and this is where it all started for him. Yeah,
well, I can definitely sense your excitement. What you have. Yeah. No, but you know what? And I'm listening to you talk, and I think there's so many ideas running in my mind in terms of what we need and how we need to get people engaged on these persons who contributed so much to our country. And it's almost like you're speaking about a friend.
Exactly, that's what.
And that's important because it makes you more engaged about it as well. So I think that's a wonderful way to be able to captivate everyone. So, but not everybody's able to view it right now, and we do want people to come out to the exhibit. So let's talk about the details as well.
Okay, so the exhibit is opening the 24th of February, this coming Tuesday, at the Corozal House of Culture. They're also having their anniversary, so it's perfect for us. And it's really good that the exhibit's opening at Corozal because Mr. Ken is from Corozal. So we're maybe hoping to see him there. Yeah, hoping to see him there. It starts at 9, and I think it will be how long?
It will be there at least a month. Then it reopens at the different houses of culture in Juac, of course, here in Belize, and in the western side, Benque Viejo and San Ignacio and Santa Elena. So the exhibit will tour the country, and of course we'll try to get it allocated in the southern part of the country. We know we don't have houses of culture there as yet, but we have made in the past made the exhibit accessible there for a while to the students. So it's particularly targeting students at this point, but also tourists usually walk into the houses of culture and get to become familiar with Belize's history. And these personalities that have contributed, as you said, so much to our development and to who we are as a society today.
Yeah, we have to have the ultimate respect for our trailblazers. Teachers. And if we don't know who they are, then we'll never appreciate the paths that we're on. So I really hope that everybody reaches out to attend the different exhibits, and that the teachers will take out the children, that the teachers will be open to learning as well, and that everyone in the classroom, Lynette, will be talking about these persons like they're their very own friends, just like you did today. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having us.
All right.
William is an educator, so he could every now and again push for teachers to become more involved, make their children do the research and make them do the oral history.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
go offline? I don't think so. Now with Smart's newly upgraded prepaid data packages, you'll never need to be disconnected from the world again.
I just want to be your 24/7 man now.
Heighten your data experience with a $5 data package, now giving you 150 megabytes, 6 times more than before. A $10 package is now 420 megabytes, and a $15 package, 512 megabytes. So you can surf the web, watch YouTube, or even chat all day long. Stay connected with Smart's upgraded prepaid data packages and never go offline again.
I just want to be your 24/7 man now. Just as long as I can.
Smart, bringing people together.
Belizeans countrywide will go to the polls for Decision 2015. Channel 5 and Love FM will be teaming up for a special municipal election coverage. We'll take you as close to the action as possible, and our reporters will have live reports from all across the country. Join our studio panel of political analysts and commentators who will be with you from 6 a.m. until the announcement of the results. Tune in on March 4th for Channel 5 and Love FM's Decision 2015. Our coverage, your vote.
And welcome back.
Of course, very interesting show today. We had the opportunity to speak with our PUP mayoral candidate from Benke, Alfredo Quilin, to talk about his platform and get an idea of his personal journey towards seeking office in that municipality.
That's right. And the second part of our show, talking about taking advantage of the CSME. We've been talking about this for some time now, and you know, I think it's great that they're now basically going to what would be the first step for people, which is go out and get your skill certificate. So I think if you think incrementally, you're not saying go looking for jobs, because sometimes you don't know where to look, or looking at what the possibilities are, but first, get certified. Once you're certified, then you have more opportunities available to you. So we want to thank them for joining us today and beginning the conversation once again on CSME and the benefits and opportunities that exist for Belizeans.
And our final segment that just concluded, which deals with heroes, patriots, and benefactors, the exhibit that starts off in next week Tuesday in Corozal, and will feature Nurse Vivian C., Nurse Dorothy Bradley, and also Jesus Ken. Very important for us to build the information that is available on people who have been trailblazers in our own history. So very important, and of course our robust conversation about the Belize History Association and the work that is being also continued by the Institute of Social and Cultural Research, and the importance of it all for us as Belizeans.
All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up our show for today. So remember, if you want to contact us, you can contact us at oye@channel5belize.com, Marlene_oye@channel5belize.com,
and William_oye@channel5belize.com. Have a great day, everybody, and be sure to join us tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes to start your morning right. Until then, have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and SMART, bringing people together